You ever wonder what really goes into building a big, complex piece of software from scratch? I mean, really building it. Now, what if I told you your main partner in crime, your lead collaborator, wasn't even human? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how a super sophisticated software planning tool was built, step by step, with an AI co-pilot leading the way. All right, so let's just jump right in with a question that probably gives a lot of engineering leaders nightmares. You know the drill, right? You spend weeks, maybe even months, putting together the perfect yearly plan. Every team is aligned, every initiative is accounted for, and then, the second you launch, reality just comes crashing in and the whole thing falls apart. So the real question is, how do you build a plan that's ambitious? Yeah, but that doesn't just break on contact with the real world. So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle the software planning puzzle itself. Then we'll get into how you model your digital factory. After that, we'll talk about the art of making a plan that actually works. Then comes the fun part, meeting the AI co-pilot. And finally, we'll look at what all this means for the future of building stuff.
Okay, section 1, the software planning puzzle. This really gets to the core of the problem, the whole reason this tool even exists.
This quote, this just nails the central conflict, doesn't it? And get this, it's from the developer's very first prompt to the AI. Think about it. On one side, you've got this huge mountain of stuff you want to get done, all these amazing new features and initiatives. But on the other side, you've got a very real, very limited amount of capacity to actually do the work. The whole game, the entire puzzle, is figuring out how to make those two things fit together. So where do you even start trying to solve a problem that big? Well, you don't start with the plan itself, you start with the blueprint, which brings us right to section 2, modeling your digital factory. Okay, now this is where it gets really cool, at least for me. This quote you see here, this isn't from some fancy business school textbook or a management seminar. This is the developer's own big idea, the entire blueprint for the project, just said out loud to the AI. This is the big shift, you know? The whole thing starts not with a line of code, but with a powerful idea. And that idea is simple. You have to start with the architecture. Everything else comes from that. And here's how they turn that big idea into something real, something structured. It's all about bringing order to the chaos, right? So you've got a platform at the top. Inside that, you have a bunch of systems. Each system is made up of services. And this is key. Each one of those services is owned by a small, agile 2-pizza team. You know, a team small enough to be fed by 2 pizzas. Those teams, of course, are made up of your engineers. And just like that, you've got a clear, easy-to-read map of your entire organization. All right, so now that we have that blueprint, now we can actually start talking about the plan. So let's jump into section 3 and see where the model meets reality, the art of the plan. Look, to make any plan real, you need a way to measure effort, right? A common currency. And for this tool, that currency is something called SDE years. It's a really simple but super powerful idea. If a project has a value of 1 SD year, it means it would take one software development engineer their full undivided attention for an entire year to get it done. It's a simple unit, but it makes all the trade-offs you have to make crystal clear. And that brings us to maybe the most important part of this whole thing, the line. Seriously, think of it like a water line. It's the boundary between your ambition and your reality. Everything above the line, or ATL, is stuff you can actually do. You can commit to it. Everything below the line, BTL, is still on the wish list. What's so great about it is that the tool makes this separation brutally honest. There's no hiding from it. So what's it like to actually use this thing as a manager? Well, it's super interactive. You just list out all the things you want to do for the year, you estimate the SDE years for each one, and then the magic happens. You can literally just drag and drop these initiatives around to change their priority. And with every single move, you see that above the line / below the line marker move in real time. It basically turns planning from a boring spreadsheet exercise into this dynamic visual puzzle. But, you know, here's a classic trap that so many plans fall into. They forget that some stuff just isn't up for debate. It's non-negotiable. So this tool builds in that dose of reality by letting you protect those critical initiatives. We're talking about things like keeping the lights on, your on-call support, mandatory security stuff. You get the idea. It makes sure you've paid for the foundation before you even think about building the fancy penthouse. So we've seen what the tool does, which is pretty amazing. But the story of how it was built is honestly just as incredible. And that brings us to section 4, your AI copilot. So check this out.
The developer didn't start this whole thing by opening up a code editor. Nope. They started with a conversation. They just gave the AI a high-level goal. Ultimately, we need some analysis to help management allocate resources better. See, they weren't acting like a coder. They were acting like a director, telling their AI partner the why behind the what. And just look at how the AI responds. It's not just sitting there waiting for instructions. It jumps in like a true design partner. It says, yeah, that's an excellent point. That's key to making this valuable. And then it immediately starts sketching out a plan. It's a strategic collaborator right from the jump, instantly turning that why into a how.
But it absolutely was not a one-way street. And this right here might be my favorite part of their whole collaboration. The developer just steps in and says, wait, I think we're overcomplicating things. It's that crucial human gut check, right? The ability to course correct. This is what true human-AI synergy looks like. It's a feedback loop where the human's job is to simplify, to steer, and to provide that bit of taste and judgment that leads to a way better result. And all of that amazing back and forth, that whole conversation, it led to this. The AI didn't just help build the tool, it became a core feature of the tool. It basically evolved into what they call an action agent. It can maintain a full chat session, it knows what you're looking at on the screen, and it lets you perform powerful actions with simple slash commands, like /add initiative. It's like the co-pilot that helped build the plane is now integrated right into the cockpit.
So, what's the end result? What do you get when you build something this way? Let's check out the finished product and talk about what this all means for the future of building in our final section.
You know, the real world is always messier than a simple model. Teams borrow engineers from each other constantly. So the model had to evolve. It started tracking not just the builders in seats, the permanent team members, but the effective BIS. That's the team's actual, in-the-moment capacity, which includes any help they've borrowed from other teams. It's a much more realistic picture. And this is where that concept becomes so powerful, with one of the tool's best features, scenario planning. With just a click, a manager can flip between different possible futures. Like, what can we get done with just our core team? Okay, now what happens if we add in that borrowed help? And what's the dream scenario if we hire everyone we have the budget for? Every single click literally redraws what's possible. And at the end of the day, all that detailed in-the-weeds modeling rolls up into these really powerful high-level insights. A dashboard like this one gives leaders an instant, visual answer to the biggest question of all. Where is our most precious resource, our engineers' time, actually going? Seriously, just stop and look at this timeline for a second. The speed here is just wild. April 11th, it's nothing more than an idea and a prompt. By April 23rd, less than 2 weeks later, a core, complex feature is totally done. We're talking about going from a vague concept to a rich, working tool in a matter of days. This is the kind of speed, the kind of velocity that having an AI copilot makes possible. And let's be super clear here. We are not talking about some flimsy little prototype. What started as a single HTML file grew into a complete, robust, professional-grade application. We're talking a full service-based architecture, the kind of thing that would normally take a whole team of people months and months to build. And it was all guided by this incredible human-AI partnership. You know, this whole story, it really points to a future where maybe the most valuable skill isn't just knowing how to code, but knowing how to ask the right questions, how to shape the vision. It leaves you with a really fascinating question to chew on, doesn't it? As you look ahead, what if your next copilot wasn't human?